Not really. I was hoping that would be the case, but it doesn't seem to make a lot of difference because I mean I'm sure, for some Japanese people, yeah, but I think a lot of Japanese people seem to like Western bands as well. So maybe, I think it's interesting for them to have a Japanese bass player in the band because it doesn't there isn't many rock bands I know with Japanese bass players, but I don't think it makes a massive difference. I think it's I think the music's really what they're really into as well. I'm sure it helps in some way. Taka's quite an unusual looking guy.
Yeah, with
the hair and stuff. Yeah, so he stands out in a crowd.
Yeah.
It's quite weird. I mean, I feel better now than I did 6 months ago or 10 months ago, whenever it was, January. But I didn't do any interviews after it happened, apart from maybe one on Radio 1 or something. I didn't want to do any interviews. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I just kind of managed to escape all that. So now I'm back, and we're back with a record. All those questions people wanted to ask me then, they're asking me now, which I knew would happen. So I'm kind of like prepared for it. But it's not easy, Brings back a lot of memories being asked stuff about,
So, but why didn't you want to talk about it until you had the album? Why not?
No, it wasn't that. It was just I didn't feel like I could really face talking to people about it at that time. Even if I hadn't had an album out, I had to do it at some point. So whether I had a new album out or not, I probably would have to do what I'm doing in some way now. But I mean, I'm basically here to promote our record and to let people know that we are carrying on. Obviously, I know people are going to be interested in John and that sort of thing. That's fine. I mean, it's very hard for me to forget about it too. But we are moving forward as a band. John's not with us anymore. I wish he was, but he's not. We've got a new album, and I'm thinking about the future now. He would have liked it.
Why?
I know what he liked. I knew him for 16 years. I mean, close people like brothers. He would have really liked it. I mean, the thing is, he heard I played a few songs before he died.
Which
Forget About Tomorrow, I'd written musically and had some of the lyrics, and Come Back Around, and musically they hadn't done all the lyrics, and the other one was Godzilla, and all the other stuff is pretty much completely new that I wrote afterwards. I had more songs before, but those were the only 3 that made the list,
Okay.
So I even played them in a rehearsal room with him. So some of the drum parts that I remember him playing, I tried to, he sort of remembered and tried to recreate in some way, and got Mark to play similar patterns. So there's kind of a little bit of, there's a little bit of him on this, him on this record. So it's kind of nice in some way. And Mark Richardson, who played drums. He's a great drummer, and we've known Mark for a long time. He knew John; they were good friends and stuff.
Yeah, Mark is from Skunk Anansie.
Yeah, because we used to tour with them, Skunk Anansie, and I knew Mark before. I met him before for a previous band he was in as well. Funny enough, Mark came to our last show I did with John when we were supporting Stereophonics at a big London arena. It was the London Arena, London Docklands Arena.
Okay,
and Mark, I hadn't seen him for a long time. He just came to the show, and he watched the gig from behind John's drum kit.
Okay.
How weird is that? It's just scary, isn't it? To think, that freaks me out a bit because you think, well, and now Mark's playing, drums. It's kind of nice that at least that I knew that they were friends. I think it helped a little bit to use somebody that was kind of not a complete stranger, Well, I'm not looking for anybody else, so we're just taking one step at a time. But I'd like to think that Mark will continue playing with us.
And what does he think?
I think he feels the same, but he's not here.
Oh, but let's say the chemistry is all right now.
Oh yeah, no, we get on good. I think we know each other well enough to. I think it'll work fine. He's a great drummer. He's a really nice person as well, and I think we can get on pretty well. And I think it's going to take a bit of time to really, for me and Taka to get our heads around having a different, drummer. But I think we can do it. And I think when we played live shows recently in the UK, like Reading Festival, I think that was really, I was like, yeah, we can still do it. It's going to be hard, but we can do it. He's a really good drummer as well, so that helps. I think every album we've made is a little bit different, so I try and make it a little bit different. I want to still keep it feeder. I'm not trying to sort of move on and make some avant-garde jazz album, because it's not what we're about. It's still basically the songs I write on acoustic guitar. I have on every feeder album, pretty much. So it's kind of still got those elements that are the same as on previous feeder records, but the drums are maybe a little bit different, the way we recorded them, the sound, and just the simplicity of them in some way. But I think I would have certainly tried to get the drums, whether it was John playing the drums or Mark, very similar to what they've ended up being. So I don't know how. I think it would have been a bit different sounding, even if it had been John playing on there. I don't know how different. I can't really answer that. It may sound
technically. Maybe.
Technically, I think this album's probably a little bit more about the songs. And the songs and the vocal maybe is more important. Well, not more important, but maybe more of a focus point on this album. And maybe there was kind of that was a side I wanted to show. Maybe in the past I haven't really maybe shown, and maybe the fact that the whole shock of losing John and stuff just sort of gave me that kind of what's the word? That sort of feeling of confidence in some way. When something awful happens to you, or to somebody that you're really, that you're very close to, often it can make you feel like very differently about things. And I think in some way, although it's really left a scar not only on myself but on everyone that knew him, his family and his wife and child and everyone who was involved with him, it's also made me stronger in some way and more confident. Well, I still write with John in my head a bit because I've known him for so long. I always will, but I think that's something which luckily I've still got. I've still got that because when I write music, I write with drums, bass, keyboards, everything in my head. I'm sure a lot of people do. That's why for me, like producing music as well as writing is really important to me, or to be involved, because how that song ends up is kind of a little bit like your vision you have for that song when it first starts out in your head. So it's hard for me not to be involved with that because it's important to me. Yeah. Acoustic guitar and the melodies, or sometimes I have lyrics first. On this album I had a few lyrics first and I put them into the music. But normally I sort of sit with my guitar, a pad and a little tape recorder, and I'll be singing along, and sometimes I'll have something else I want to sing about, so I'll start with a line and I'll just build the song, and some come very quickly, lyrics, and some just seem to be really hard, as simple as they might seem when you hear them back. Sometimes those are the hard ones to write. This album for me lyrically was probably the easiest in some way, although I think that the lyrics on some of the songs are good, but they're simple. But if you can get a song to really connect with people and not sound cliche, and it be very simple and direct, that's the key for me for a really great song sometimes.
But is it also something to do with inner turmoil?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I know when I started writing these songs, I have to admit I was a bit of a mess. I have to admit, it took me a while. I mean, I don't think I've still completely got over it. I don't think I ever will. But maybe I knew that when I started writing these songs, that what was going to come out was going to be a lot of confusion and emotions and anger, sadness, all that stuff, which happens, and it kind of made me feel differently about life as well, after what happened. So I think that kind of made me feel differently about the way I approached maybe some of the lyrics as well. And I think this album, whether it's success here or whatever, or in the UK or in America or whatever, I got to a point where, of course, I want people to like it. I want to have good reviews. Who doesn't? But I don't care as much as I really believe in the album, and I really do, and I'm proud of it. And that's, for me, that means more than anything. And it's the same with Taka. He's really proud of it as well. And everyone involved with the record just really believes in it. And it's not just because, I know this, you're probably going to say, are you worried that maybe people like the album just because they're thinking, oh, well, they lost the band, they lost the drummer. Maybe that's the case for some people, but I think at the end of the day, people aren't that stupid. If they like a record and they like a song, it's a good album, that's why they're going to buy it. I hope. it already is a success for me because I believe in the album. That's a success for me. Whether other people do, I don't know. But at least I know that I believe in it, and the band, you know, and Taka and Mark, hopefully, if he carries on playing with us, you know, we all believe in the album. So for me, that's a big step. Obviously, you know, I'd like to go on and do a lot with this record, tour everywhere, do certainly a lot more here in Europe, because we haven't done a lot here in Europe, and it's really frustrating for us because, you know, we really want to come here and play more, but we've just been unlucky here. But we are going to try and put that right and try and put the time in here. I just want to keep making music for as long as I still enjoy it. You can't avoid it.
No, but I mean,
you just make good music and prove that you can rise above that horrible thing, and carry on. Because I know for a fact that John would have expected me to carry on if he was even in his mind at the time. I mean, you know, I don't want to say this on camera, but he did try and call me before he did it. What he was going to say to me, I don't know. Bugs the hell out of me. But I know John knew me well enough, and I knew him well enough to know that he would have expected me to carry on doing music, whether it was Feeder or whatever. Because he really believed in the band, you know. Oh God, no.
No,
that's
no signs.
I still don't get it now. I mean, now I look back on it.
Was he depressed or?
Yeah, but I mean, I get depressed. I mean, I get really depressed sometimes. I mean, who doesn't? You know, you do, especially when you're in a band, you're touring, because you know you spend your whole life living out of a suitcase, and all the things that you want to do and all the people that you want to be with, sometimes you can't because you're away from home. So you're constantly in contact with people on the phone, and that can be really stressful. You know, having a relationship down the phone line, which is basically, you know, what everybody has on tour. And if you've got children and a wife, and that's even, I don't have children yet. I want to at some point in my life, but I don't think I can handle being away all the time and do that. I mean, so that must have been difficult. So maybe a combination of, I don't know what drove him to that point, but yeah, he was depressed and stuff like that. But I never imagined he could even do anything like that stupid or, you know, take his own life. But you know, he obviously felt like, you know, whatever happened in his head, something just went, and he just that was his way out. And it's a terrible waste. You know, I'm kind of angry with him as well. You know, it's a big part of me that just feels like saying, "What have you done?"
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also feel a massive emptiness as well, and sort of, it's sad.
Yeah, because also your friend.
He was a great guy. I mean, he really was. He was a good laugh. If he was here now, you'd be having a bit of a laugh. But you know, I can't do much about that. But he is kind of here with me in some ways, just because I kind of remember what he'd be saying if he was here. So it's kind of a weird one. But I think if you spend that much time with each other, you can't avoid that. Well, obviously, you know, I mean, all the songs I've ever written, as simple as they are and as simple as the lyrics may be, they all mean something to me in some way. And they all have they're all kind of like snapshots of experiences, or, you know, whatever you go through. Yeah, I'm sure if you're at home, you make a diary or whatever. It's kind of the way I write music. You know, it can be something that inspires you, and sometimes even at that time, you don't always know, you know, exactly what you're kind of writing about until you really realise. You know, sometimes that's the way the mind works. But there is a lot of songs on this album that obviously do reflect, you know, John's, you know, the whole situation, and just losing people in general, or kind of wishing that something would come back. You know, but it's not all about that. I mean, but for me, any songs that do that, it's quite hard to explain, because I think this album is a very positive album as well. I think it's quite an optimistic album. Yeah, there is some sadness on there, but isn't there sadness in everyday life? You experience things all the time.
Yeah, but sometimes sadness can be really upbringing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, there's not happy punky pop songs where everything's great and life's cool and I'm on the beach with it's not that kind of record. It is not that kind of record.
Sometimes that sort of songs also can give you some kind of emptiness.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Totally. I mean, this album, I think the reason why I like it is because the songs and I think the lyrics, as simple as they are really meaningful and they really mean something. But I think if somebody hearing this record didn't know anything about Fido or know about John's suicide, they could be interpreted in a completely different way. Yeah. They could be love songs. They could be about anything. You know, Come Back Around could be about finding happiness again, or finding, you know, somebody that you used to go out with when you were at school that you still can't get out of your head, even though it was 10 years ago or whatever. You know, I think the songs were open to interpretation, but I'd be lying to you now if I said that there isn't songs about the situation that happened with John, because that's probably the most obvious song. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, because it is. But at the same time, I was a bit worried about putting that song on the album.
Why?
So I thought it was maybe too. God, it's like putting your heart on a plate and then people see it. You know what I mean? But that's how I felt, and that's how I still feel, really. And and I think that song "Quick Fade" could mean something completely different to somebody if they weren't thinking about, hey, that's the band that lost, So I think it's a good song for that reason, also.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably the most direct song as well.
Direct, yeah.
It is, and that's kind of scared me when I was thinking. I mean, I really wanted it to be on the album, and a lot of people who heard that song, Taka, and when we recorded it, said, oh, you have to put Quick Fade on, and I was like, okay. And I'm pleased I did put it on, but I don't want to make a big deal about it. It's there, but we're going to play it live. It's kind of my sort of tribute in some way. Oh, God, it happens all the time.
Yeah, but
especially journalists and the press. They haven't got a clue half of them. They get it so wrong. But it doesn't matter. I don't expect them to know what's in my head. I don't know if I want them to know.
Well, okay.
But it's really what you take out of it. I remember listening to Beatles songs when I was a kid, like Sgt. Pepper's and all that sort of psychedelic stuff, and like Revolver, and I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And I had always little weird ideas about what the songs were about. People were saying, oh, yeah, that's like the acid song when he's singing about this stuff. And I've sort of read a lot of stuff recently about Beatles and interviews, and some of the songs are actually not at all what I thought they were about. And I was kind of a little.
Do you have an example?
Sorry?
Do you have an example?
What was the one? Yeah, there was one. I'm just trying to think what it was. Oh God, what's the song? I'm just trying to think. That he got.
Is it from Sgt. Pepper or from?
I think it was from Sgt. Pepper. It was the one with.
Lucy in the Sky.
Oh well, that's one example. The one he said it was about his daughter and she was doing a painting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's where he got it from. And I believe that. That's to me is more realistic.
Yeah.
And that's the way. I think John Lennon. We talk about simple lines that are really effective. He was so good at that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A song like Imagine, it's a very simple song. It's a beautiful song. It's a classic song.
Yeah.
The lyrics are very simple, but it sounds great, doesn't it? And just the way he sung, there's a certain thing, I think, the lyrics, melody, and voice. It's how you deliver it that really makes it believable. I can't really quite explain that. But the song I'm trying to think of, back to Beatles, I can't remember the one. But I read that he got the lyrics off the back of some. He bought some.
Circus?
No, it was like a picture or something he bought.
Maybe it's from Benefit of Mr. Kite?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And he was a lot of lines. He just took a lot of lines off. They were kind of weren't really his lines, but people always sort of look so deeply into stuff, and often it's completely not how it was,
So what?
But isn't that great though? Isn't that what music's all about? For people to find their own, own images, own imagery or whatever. It's the same if you, that's not a particularly good example of a picture, but if you see a painting in a gallery that you really like, you might have an interpretation about what that picture is to you or what you see, but it might be completely different to what somebody else sees or to what the artist was trying to do. Yeah. I don't know. I think you've got to be. Everyone has to find their own. I don't. I have to admit, I'm not. I do care about. Of course, I care about. What's going on in the world, and I'm not. I find politics a bit frustrating, really. But I do care about obviously world affairs and stuff. But I don't tend to write about it in music. Well, I haven't so far, as such, because for me, music was kind of an escape and a freedom thing. I just found it depressing. Yeah. I'm not trying to run away from it. If I can help people in any way through music or raise money, which is something which I would love to try and do more as I get older and get more successful, I will. But for me, I'd be a hypocrite to say that I'm here because I've made this album because I'm trying to sort of I don't know,
change the world.
Yeah, because it's not really it wouldn't really be right to say that because it's not true. I'm just writing songs about day-to-day life and experiences and loss and everything really. But I tend to keep away from the sort of political side if I can. I think it's a very sort of a risky road to take in music. Actually, for me, I don't like personally. I don't like Rage Against the Machine for their lyrical content. I don't like being preached at. I don't like people preaching at me. I really don't. I find it quite uncomfortable. But I think they're a great band. I think musically Rage Against the Machine is a fantastic band. I'm not saying that everyone has the right to have an opinion on something, and that's his right, and that's fine. But it's just not what I personally feel like I need to do at this point in my life, or maybe ever. I don't know. I'm saying to you, if there's certain issues that I feel strongly about that I can help in any way through music. You've got like Bono from U2. There's lots of stuff, but I'm saying there is something maybe at the right time, if I can help, I will get involved in. But that's really as far as I would go. But as actual songwriting and lyrics side of things, at the moment for me, I don't really want to go that route at all. Actually, it's quite funny because his name's Gill, but everyone calls him Gill. It's really funny. But I only said that because he hates being called Gill. But most people call him Gill though. But his name's Gill. It's Gill Norton because there's only one L. It should be one L, G-I-L.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd mention it in case there's only they're going to go. Gill? No, it's Gill. It doesn't matter. I just thought it was funny.
Okay, so to say Gill is
I wasn't going to say no. I was going to let you just keep saying it, but I thought I'd better tell you.
Oh, because now it's a female name, Gill.
Yeah, I think that's why he doesn't like it. I think Gill's cool, but
okay.
It was just one of those things. I mean, Gill worked on Echo Park with me, and there was a few songs we did ourselves as a band that we produced, but it was generally a Gill Norton record. He produced it. This album, I co-produced it with Gill because it was never. Wasn't going to work with Gill on this album, not because I don't like him, just because the last album was kind of. We had a few differences on how I wanted it to sound. I just thought, no, let's move on. Let's either do it ourselves or try something new. But then I saw Gill a few times. I saw him at John's funeral, and I just said I was writing music, and he said, "Well, if you've got anything you want to play me, just give me a call." So when I was in the studio in January, just kind of there on my own, with the engineer Matt, who does a lot of recording with Feeder, I just called Gill up one day and said, "Hey, Gill, do you want to come down and hear some music and have a drink?" And he came down, and I played him some stuff, and he was just like, "Whoa, that's good." Mm-hmm. And it just went from there, really. And but there was something that we had done in that studio, myself and the engineer Matt, that was really, really just had a really nice atmosphere, and it was really special in some way. So I didn't really want to go back and redo everything from scratch. I wanted to keep some of what we had. Okay. And that's how Gill felt as well. So we came up with an idea. I said, well, how about if we do a let's work together. So keep what we've got. Let's work as a team. And he said, yeah, okay. And that's what happened. Okay. Gill hasn't done co-production before. I mean, Gill's quite a famous producer. He doesn't need to.
No, because he did the Pixies and the Foo Fighters.
Oh, he's done loads of people. Echo and the Bunnymen. I mean, Patti Smith. I mean, he's done a lot of people. He's not American, you know that. He's from London, yeah? Oh, yeah. He's born in Liverpool, but lives in London. Oh, cool. But Gill was really good for me because, not just on a musical point of view, but when I knew that him and me as a team would be really strong, he's just a really good person to talk to and to have around, because we were all a bit shaky at that point, myself and Taka and everybody. So it was quite nice to have Gill, because he's a really strong person to have around you. And I kind of needed that as well. Okay. And he knew John well. And Gill's very good at working with drummers. He's very good at getting drummers to play the right stuff in the studio, and he's very, very good. And having a new drummer, we thought having Gill there would be really, really helpful. The best bit for me is probably that I love writing. I love writing and recording. I love that. I really do. I really enjoy it. But I also love touring. So it's probably it's kind of maybe a bit of both. I personally prefer the writing and the recording side. Not because I don't enjoy playing live. I do, but it's just a bit more.
personal.
Yeah, a bit more personal, and you don't have to sort of get on a bus every 5 minutes and go off to, somewhere. But I love playing live. I love playing. I just don't like the sort of in-between stuff, hanging around and being sat on a bus in a car park, waiting for... but sometimes, when we tour, I think, oh wow, this is great. You play to new people, and you get some, especially when you have a really good gig as well. You feel so high from that. So, I do love touring, but I also, I love the sort of the freedom of being in the studio and all that stuff around you, and you got your own little world there. It's great.
Touring.
Doing interviews. No. The worst part,
maybe
having bad reviews is hard.
Oh.
I hate having bad reviews. Who doesn't? Wouldn't you? It's horrible being slagged off by people, and some journalists really are pretty hard. I mean, everyone has their opinion. I'm not expecting everyone to like what we do, but even, I just think it's not even about music anymore. Half of it's so. I just think, these people got a problem with me, or have they got a problem with themselves? It gets to that point where you think it's not worth worrying about, but it still upsets me. You have a shit review. These people haven't even listened to the record properly, or bad reviews still hurt a bit, but I just think, there's no point worrying about it. Sometimes being, travelling, I find hard work. Not actually being in a place is great. It's just getting there is the problem. It's just not like you're on some great, little train and you've got a beautiful view everywhere. It's like you're in a bus, or you can't see a lot, or you're on a plane, or that's quite hard work sometimes. Being away from the normal things that you miss doing, whether it's watching TV at home or going to the pub with your mates, or whatever.